And it's a presentation and or a town board discussion on short-term options. Okay, I don't know how that, I think this got messed up with the resolution we just did in the public hearing. So this agenda item is on the short-term options and long-term options for EMS in the town of Webster. The volunteer EMS personnel, that is more up in the public hearing section. Now, I'm not going to move off of the dais. I think I can just present them here. I guess because I did the presentation on May 25th at a town board workshop, I guess I'm going to do the presentation of this one 4 months later on September 28th. So, Josh, you'll help me with moving along on this. It's not a 30-screen PowerPoint like on the 28th or 25th of May, so my presentation should go pretty quick. All right, moving to the next page. This first page should look familiar to everybody because it is exactly the page that was presented on May 25th in this boardroom. And this was the summary page of the short-term options that had been identified at that point. The only change to this screenshot is the red font that says this was presented at the May 25th, 2023 Town Board Workshop. It's the exact same slide. At that time, there were 7 short-term options that had been identified, and there they are. I'm not going to read them off. We can move on to the next. Now, the last 4 months have been pretty active on this. On June 8th, we had a 2-hour public meeting at Webster Thomas High School. Many of the people that are in the room tonight attended that meeting. Approximately 80 attended. There were 50 questions that were asked and answered. About half of them from the attendees that night, about half of them from a report. A week later, my supervisor's corner article in the Webster Herald clarified that we're not going to hit a June 30th decision by the town board on the short-term option. We are still missing information, most notably the 2022 financial audit from Equals. So I put in that article that tentatively we're going to make this decision 45 days after receipt of those audited financial statements. Now, on July 14th, our town attorney, the Honorable Charlie Genesi, formally requested of Nequal's attorney the 2022 financial audit and also an 18-month payer mix, and requested that by no later than July 31st. On July 31st, Nequal's leadership informed the town that they are in the process of changing their legal representation and that the 2022 audit would be forthcoming soon. On August 15th, the town received Nequal's 2022 financial audit. The payer mix from January 22 to June 23 was not provided at that time. I'm going to do some simple math for everybody. 45 days from August 15th, making a decision on short term would be right around October 1st, which is Sunday. Now from September 1st to the present, some town representatives, including Paul Adams, Councilman Cahill, myself, Charlie Genesi, and Russ Ziskin, the CEO of a Syracuse-based EMS agency. We've been working with Nequals to determine the payer mix, and as we sit here tonight, some questions still are out there on that. And I know that John and Russ have been actively trying to get that. Go ahead.
Just explain to me what the payer mix
Well, I was going to get into that.
Okay.
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 But actually, for the people that are in this room, since most of them work for WEMS, they should understand unequivocally what payer mix means. I think Russ Ziskin, he was on the panel on June 8th, and I think he did a great job at that public meeting of explaining what payer mix is that when the EMS professionals get a call, they don't distinguish at that point if this is somebody that is rich and has private health insurance and that they're going to get all $1,500 of what they bill out, or whether the person is maybe older and or less affluent, is on Medicare and Medicaid, and that the ambulance company is only going to get $300 out of their billed $1,500. That's not what these people do. Their passion is to go help people. They don't sit there and do an accounting of, oh, what do we got here? God bless them. But when the dust settles, an ambulance company has to figure out, okay, well, how many of our calls ended up being full pay, and how many of our calls ended up being slotted to capped off on Medicare and Medicaid because the patient was a Medicare or Medicaid patient. That's payer mix. Really simply, if your whole town was just a bunch of rich people, per se, and every call you went on got full pay for that call, that would be a really financially great ambulance company to run. Conversely, on those same exact number of calls, if your town was all Medicare and Medicaid, your revenue might be 1/4 of what the rich towns was, on the same exact number of calls and the same exact number of expense, because these professionals have to be in those rigs. Whether they're going to a call or not, they're getting paid. So that, in essence, is the foundation of payer mix. And I think Russ Siskin did a wonderful job that night explaining how his company, NOVA, Northern Onondaga Volunteer Ambulance, out of the Clay, New York area, has a 17% payer mix for full pay commercial. 17% of their billable calls are the full payers, and it makes up 50% plus of their collected revenue. Now that might be TMI for everybody on payer mix, but what every EMS agency's CFO will tell you is that payer mix is uber, uber, uber important to analyze the financial viability of an EMS agency and where or where not they need some subsidy from local governments. So the reason why payer mix is such an important factor here is that we go back 14 months, and on July 28th, Ahmed Mustafa, the CEO and chairman of the board of WEMS and Meatballs, stood on the podium and said, we need a tax district as soon as January of 23, and we need an initial funding of $800,000. That's very difficult for us as a town board, and Paul as the finance chair, to understand. Well, do you need $800,000? Because are you that rich town that you're getting a payer mix that is tremendous? Or are you a poor and old town and your payer mix is very low? And that's the type of data we need to make an informed, educated decision. That's my explanation of payer mix. And right now, as we sit here, we don't have enough information about that from Meatballs. Would you agree with that, Paul?
Yes, I would. We were provided the WEMS only payer mix for 2022. We've asked for the Meatballs portion.
Okay.
So it tells us the story.
So, and I gotta say this, Russ Ziskin has been a godsend. He's one of our own. When I say one of our own, he lives here in Webster. Ahmed Mustafa is actually on Russ Ziskin's board out at North Onondaga Volunteer Ambulance in Clay, New York. He has really been helpful with Paul, Charlie, myself, and John Cahill as we are trying to navigate something that is almost a different language. So, he's not here tonight, but thank you. Last on this timeline, is that on September 20th, Equals legal representation sent to, I think you, Charlie, a proposed amendment to the town, to the contract between the town and Equals. And then I know Councilman Cahill got involved with that, and on September 25th, there was a second proposed amendment sent over with some changes from the first. But both amendments had a money component where the town was giving money to Equals in exchange for some metric changes as far as monitoring, and also a 5-year extension of the current contract through the end of, or through 2030. Actually, a 5-year, I think, would be through the end of 29, right? 26, 27. No, it would be through the end of 30. All right. So that's been the activity the last 4 months of that. The next page is, once again, this is a page that should look very familiar to everybody because this was a summary of the long-term options that at least had been made known through May 25th. So these were shown back on May 25th. And then we can go, I won't read them off because everybody has seen these. Anybody paying attention to this process has seen these. Next up is, this is an update on the long-term options. The University of Rochester's Simon Business School has a team of 5 MBA, Masters in Business candidates that will be starting a research project on the long-term options on October 1st, actually October 2nd. They have told us that based on this model, this is a model they do for businesses, and they've done it for I think 5 or 6 years now, that it's a 2-month process, and that they will be giving their, they'll present their research findings in early of December 23. I will say that this is, I think, a phenomenal opportunity for the town because they do businesses. They do consultation of businesses. This is the first time they've done a government entity, but as the town board has found out, we're in the ambulance business. We own a municipal certificate of need. We outsource our ambulance business from that licensure authority to Equals. But make no doubt about it, the town is in the ambulance business. And so once we explained that to the powers that be at U of R, they said, you know what? We will take on you as a client in this. And it costs the town nothing to get some of the brightest minds at an MBA program at Simon School that I think everybody knows is one of the best in the country. So I think it's a tremendous thing for the town. And last but not least, town legal representation. My friend over here, Charlie Nessie, and some other attorneys, per se, have been researching the municipal-owned certificate of need. The town of Webster must determine if the risk versus the authority that that con provides the town makes sense in 2024 and beyond. We're in the ambulance business. We have authorities having a municipal con, no other town in Monroe County has one. We have risks, we have liability. They cannot be outsourced. You can't abdicate liability by going out and outsourcing a service. Next. And I'll let everybody know, you should be happy this is the last one. So, page. So the general updates. The short-term option decision, the factors still needing to be discerned that will delay the October 1st tentative deadline. The payer mix, I've already explained that. Until we can get a good handle on it, it's very difficult for the town board to make a short-term option decision. This due diligence process, I'm just going to say, has made the town board look at this from a standpoint that this may not just be a financial decision. Does this decision that we're about to make go beyond financial subsidy? Some of that I already just described. I think we found out in the last 14 months something that we really didn't consider back in 2015 through 19 when we pursued a municipal certificate of need, that there's risk to it. The Penfield Volunteer Ambulance has developed a 90-day transition plan, and it's currently under review by the town board. I mention this because the screenshot of the 7 short-term options from 4 months ago, right on there, one of them was going to Penfield Volunteer Ambulance. So we continue to do our due diligence. We had them do that. The town board members are looking at that. 2 other things. The non-disclosure agreement that I think has been very much highlighted in the community, the NDA they call it, that was done in November 2022, is believed to be unenforceable by the Committee on Open Government based on the current contractual relationship. The town continues to honor the spirit of that NDA with NEQUALS, but due diligence information will be made public if NEQUALS factors into the short-term decision. And last but not least, the current 5-year contract, which is from January of 2021 through December of 25, on the town's outsourced CON authorities to NEQUALS covering the BLS and transport, has a 90-day termination clause by either party with no penalty. So that's our update at this point, and hopefully, since I did that presentation in 14 minutes, any Q&A can be answered by other people besides me. And as workshop rules of engagement are, that Q&A comes from the town board members and the town department heads, not a public meeting. Public, I shouldn't say public meeting. Public can come to these. It's not open to public time.
So you are MBA candidates are coming. They're going to be looking at, I believe, 2 municipalities that have their own ambulances within, correct?
Macedon and Colony.
Right.
Colony's outside of Albany. I think everybody knows where Macedon is.
Yeah. So there were some disparaging remarks on Facebook with respect to these MBA candidates coming in to do this, and I just want to say that that was in bad taste and never should have been done. And I think the town welcomes these candidates to come in and look at Macedon and do the work that they're about to do.
I think we could all agree that there's a lot of things on Facebook that are inappropriate and in poor taste.
Well, there is, and there's been a lot of rumors and innuendos floating around, in particular by several people that think they're in the know, but they put some information out there that's not true. And you have very dedicated people here, young people here today, that hear these rumors and they see it on Facebook, yet they show enough class not to respond. And we appreciate your dedication to our community, and also having class not to respond back, which must be very, very difficult to do.
I'm so intrigued because I'm not on Facebook, but I don't want to know.
No,
I don't want to know.
It's best that way.
No,
Yeah.
you don't.
I sleep at night.
Yes.
Well, that's not true. I do have Kim Doyle in the supervisor's office, who's awesome. She lets me know if there's something on Facebook that I should know. And I trust her judgment. So I do get some signs.
I don't have any further questions on the presentation tonight. I just want to thank both you and Attorney Genesi and John Cahill for all the time that you put into this, Paul. You've been an integral part in gathering all this information. I just want to thank everyone and those in the room who have tried to get us to this point. And there's still some work to do, but we've done quite a bit. Thank you for that.
And to Tom's point with respect to Russ Siskin's assistance in this matter, I appreciate all his knowledge that he's brought in, and most importantly, his objectivity with respect to what we've been doing. He has many years in the business, and I think he is he's really helping move this, moving this forward.
And I think he's done it with a great amount of respect for all parties that are involved.
I agree.
I've been impressed by him.
So,
If anybody gets to know Russ, he's a really funny guy, very successful. IT business or
Cool.
cybersecurity, or he's got one son that's out in California who's a rocket scientist. I don't know. But he said from day one, John, listen, I live here for 10 years. My only interest in that ambulance is I'm a little bit overweight, 58-year-old guy. Someday I'm going to have an ambulance called to my house, and I want to make sure that, you know,
Right.
it's good. He is stuck to that. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that little anecdotal line, he's shown through none of this, and I know Paul and Charlie, you've been in meetings with him, very objective, fact-based. He's been great. And I think sure he'll continue to be invaluable in this process.
Yeah, he will. I spoke to him again today, and whenever I call, he'll either pick up the phone, or he'll call me right back. So he's been very helpful.
Well, if there is no other questions or whatever, the 800-pound gorilla in the room or whatever, well, if you're not making the decision by October 1st, when are you? I don't know what to say about that. I don't want to kick this can down the road any more than it has to.
I would say
financial payer mix. But bottom line, you have to have that information. Otherwise, you're not going to make a decision.
That's a simple answer, but
Yep.
I'll leave it at that.
To be determined.
So you'll see out there on Facebook that the town board continues to not make decisions. That's what they'll say?
sure.
Okay.